Good morning. I'm really excited to meet with you again. I had a really good time in your class the other day. I felt the lesson went really well. The students were engaged, but I wanted to know how you felt the lesson went.
Good morning. Thank you. I greatly appreciate it. I feel the lesson went well. Each student was engaged, even though you notice I had to redirect one student's focus. As previously mentioned before in our pre-conference, I told you one of my child is emotionally disturbed because his mother recently passed away. So as you see, he definitely needed constant reinforcement. My teaching philosophy is basically gearing towards technology and the use of it in the classroom and students' hands-on work with iPads, Promethean boards, and computers. Since our district is leaning towards the park assessment in the near future, I believe by exposing children to such use of technology and getting them away from traditional pen and paper, they'll be able to get themselves familiarized and feel comfortable when it comes to these new types of assessments.
Yeah, I think that's really wonderful that you're embracing that. We're coming into a new type of teaching, a new type of learning. We're surrounded by technology. Social media is huge. Obviously, we want to teach our students to use social media in the correct manner. So I think it's really wonderful that you have familiarized yourself with a Promethean board and a PowerPoint, because it's important for them to be exposed to this type of technology. I noticed that there's one student in your class who continuously kept standing up, sitting down. Not a discipline problem, didn't seem to be distracting anyone else. Actually, I felt that it was pretty impressive that the other students weren't distracted by the student. But why exactly is it that that's going on?
Yeah, that student, he feels actually comfortable standing up or sitting down at different times of the day.
Okay.
I believe any way I can get a student to motivate himself and work to his best of his capabilities, I'm going to go out of my way or into the distance so I can make him feel comfortable. I believe that learning occurs not narrowly but in different directions. Many students are able to work one way and it works well for them, and others doesn't work well for them. So I try to make sure students feel comfortable at all times. I also tell my students that not everybody is the same. Everybody is different in this world, and they're not able to learn the same way. So by him standing and sitting down, if it makes him feel comfortable, makes him want to stretch out, move his legs around at the same time, not disturbing the rest of the children or the class, I'm very fine with that.
Okay, I think that's great. I think that it's important that we create a society of learners. As you said, there isn't only one type of learner, and I feel that you're being flexible and you're creating learners who are responsive to those who are surrounding them. So I think that's wonderful. Can you explain to me how you grouped the students? Was there any particular way you grouped the students?
Yeah, I try to group the students high, medium, low.
Mm-hmm.
I try to have 2 high, 2 medium, and 1 low inside the group so they all can work together.
Okay.
And basically they can help each other out and whenever they're in need.
Okay, great. How do you keep track of the student records?
I have a file cabinet filled with individual student reports, and every time I receive an assessment or something I've graded with them, it goes into the individual report, and I keep touch with with parents.
Okay.
Through individual bi-weekly reports that gives them a report of all their grades and how they're performing in my class.
Okay. Do you feel that there's anything that you would like to change about the lesson, or maybe add on if you were to do this lesson again?
Yeah, I noticed it myself. It was coming from me, the questions itself.
Okay. That was something that I was going to ask you, actually.
Yeah, I really wanted to make it more student-driven, them asking me the questions, saying what they know, what they want to know, and...
Oh, like a KWL chart. I actually was going to mention that. We're going to talk about your professional growth plan, and actually that was one of the things that I wanted to include, but I'm going to let you finish and then we'll get into that in a minute.
And I wanted them to be more engaged. I wanted them, now I'm going to extend the project for them to create their own PowerPoint so they can get familiar with the use of technology. That's why I told you.
Okay, wonderful. So will they be presenting that to their peers?
Yes, they will. and
Okay.
it would actually give them presentational skills and help them with speaking in groups.
Okay, great. So I want to talk a little bit about your professional growth plan. And prior to doing that, I want to go through the evaluation that I came up with. So I scored you within each domain. So I gave you a 3 in demonstrating knowledge of content and pedagogy. I felt that you were very much aware of what you were presenting to the students. But as you said, one of the things that I would like to see is that your students are the ones who are driving the class. Pretty much, that's the highest goal, to have the students be running the classroom. Your PowerPoint was very well organized. I liked that you had an artifact for me prior to the lesson, so I was able to follow better. I had a very good idea of what your objectives were. They were clearly stated. They were posted in the class. It was easy for the students to read the room. Your class is very well decorated, so I was happy to see that. In terms of your knowledge of the students, I also gave you a 4. I feel that you go, I gave you a 4. I feel you go above and beyond in getting to know your students. When we spoke in the pre-conference, you spoke to me about a couple of the students in your class that you felt might be a discipline problem. And I feel that you're going above and beyond. You're a coach in town. Some kids, you sometimes even help their families, take them to get haircuts. And I feel that you're really an asset to our community because you are doing these things.
Thank you.
Setting instructional outcomes. I feel that this particular lesson, you are scaffolding your learning. So I feel that you've presented the lesson and you're building upon the lesson. So you're setting those instructional outcomes because you're looking for a final goal with your tiered process of teaching. So I gave you a 3 there as well because eventually, if I come to see this lesson again and what you've built upon it, perhaps it could be a 4 because the children will be the one driving the class because they will be presenting these PowerPoint presentations. You've definitely designed coherent instruction. It's obvious that the kids are engaged, they're enjoying the learning, they're understanding what they're learning, they're understanding what the objective of your lesson is. You've built in, this is 1F, designing student assessment. You've built in the assessment in the lesson, which was excellent. Again, it's the students haven't created the assessment, you've created the assessment, so I gave you a 3 here as well. In terms of creating an environment of respect and rapport, specifically talking about the student who keeps standing up and sitting down, you've actually created an environment where students understand one another and what their needs are. So I feel that you deserve a 4 in that area because that alone shows me that the other students aren't picking on anyone and they respect each other's needs.
Thank you.
You've definitely established a culture of learning. The students are excited. You're driving the class again, so I gave you a 3 here. But I feel eventually you can reach a 4 because of the culture that you're establishing in the class. Classroom procedure at some times was a little bit hectic in terms of the moving, but you have a lot of mnemonic devices with the students in terms of redirecting their attention and getting them back to paying attention to you. So I gave you a 3 here. You manage student behavior very well. There were no discipline problems during the class. And you dealt with that one student in a very positive way, constantly redirecting him. So I felt you deserved a 3 here as well. The class was well organized. The room looked well kept, and the students were where they needed to be when they needed to be there. You communicate very well with your students. It's obvious they feel comfortable around you, they feel they can trust you, and they feel that they are in an environment that they can make mistakes. That's very important to me as a supervisor. I like to see that students can take risks in class, the right learning risks, and I feel that students feel that in your room, so I appreciate that as well. Your questioning techniques were great, and the way you presented it was great. It's gearing towards, as you said, the PARC assessment, so I feel that the students will be ready. You're engaging students in learning and a new type of learning, which there will be expected to use in the future. Again, you used assessment in your instruction. It was embedded in your lesson. And specifically with this child, you demonstrated flexibility in your teaching. You're showing the student that it's acceptable for him to move around if that's what he physically needs in order to learn, but you're also teaching him that there's limitations. He's not standing up and sitting down. I think you did a wonderful job, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next month to discuss how your growth plan is going in terms of having your class become student-driven versus driven by the teacher. So I'm very pleased, and
thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your hard work.
I appreciate it.